on this week's edition of In Focus.
The fallout continues from last weekend's stunning convention vote, placing Micah Beckwith on the ticket with Mike Braun in the race for governor. This is Braun's opponent, Jennifer McCormick, announces her choice for running mate in a news conference Thursday. Former State Rep Terry Gooden.
I promise you the McCormick-Gooden administration will leave no one behind. Where there is wrong, our administration will work to make it right. Where there is injustice, our administration will fight for justice. And where there is hurt, our administration will help to heal it.
So there you have it, the race for governor focusing here lately on the candidates' running mates. Thanks for joining us this week. Jennifer McCormick holding multiple press conferences, blasting the Braun-Beckwith ticket as too extreme for Indiana, while forming a new ticket of her own. State House reporter Hannah Adamson has more.
Micah Beckwith beat out State Representative Julie McGuire by roughly 80 votes at the 2024 Indiana GOP State Convention. McGuire had been Republican gubernatorial candidate Mike Braun's first choice. McCormick said she wasn't surprised by Beckwith's win on Saturday and that it reminded her why she left the Republican Party.
All Hoosiers understand the importance of having a two-party system that is strong, but they also understand common sense and civility and the spirit of bipartisanship. And what we're seeing coming out of the Republican Party is none of that.
Tuesday, Jennifer McCormick and Indiana Democratic Party Chair Mike Schmuhl called Micah Beckwith's win over Mike Braun's first choice for lieutenant governor a loss for Braun and the state Republican Party.
That, to me, is a sign of a weak party. A party that has serious divisions.
Schmuhl says Beckwith's extremist views could give Democrats an opening to win this November.
He has said that January 6th, and these are his words, not mine, was sent by God. It was divinely inspired. The vast majority of Americans and the vast majority of Hoosiers reject that.
It does not negate or end the Republican dominance.
Republican political strategist Michael Murphy says while Beckwith's win will most likely change some votes,
I don't think it'll be enough to make up a 10 to 20 point difference in what is likely to be the score.
He also says she still faces two major hurdles.
One is the amazing popularity of Donald Trump here in the state of Indiana. And number two is an anemic fundraising effort by Jennifer McCormick to date.
With less than a month to go before the state's Democratic convention, gubernatorial hopeful Dr. Jennifer McCormick has chosen former Indiana House Minority Leader Terry Gooden as her running mate.
I am humbled and honored to be your choice.
With 20 years of experience in the Indiana State House and as the former USDA Director of Rural Development, Lieutenant Governor candidate Terry Gooden told supporters Thursday his platform would focus on rural economic development, education, and women's reproductive rights.
My competition, Micah Beckwith, does not believe a woman has the right to choose and make decisions about her own body. Be very clear, I do.
His platform in stark contrast to his views while in the Indiana House. Gooden acknowledging his voting record on reproductive rights was spotty at best, and that his anti-abortion views changed after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Gooden also apologizing for voting to ban gay marriage in 2011.
I'm person enough to stand here and say I am sorry for that. I caused that hurt.
We're committed to all Hoosiers. And when Dr. Gooden said all means all.
McCormick's pick will need to be certified by delegates on July 13th during the state's Democratic convention. Reporting in the newsroom, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thank you. So again, McCormick naming her preferred running mate Thursday, who will face some competition for the nomination at the Democratic convention. But we'll see if it's anything like the Republican convention, where Micah Beckwith was voted onto the ticket as Mike Braun's running mate by the delegates. And that vote has continued to make waves in Republican politics in the form of a memo describing the impact that vote could have, as we discussed with Politico's Adam Wren, who first reported on that memo this week.
What can you tell us about this memo and what it suggests about the concern that may be out there amongst some Republicans about the impact of this Micah Beckwith selection?
Well, it's rare that something that is shocking is reported in Indiana politics, and this is certainly shocking. This came out the day after the convention from not just anybody, but Jim Bopp, who is a GOP super lawyer and who's been a really close surrogate and advisor to the Braun campaign. Remember, he was the secretary to the C4 spending group that helped Braun during the campaign. And essentially he was saying, look, your candidacy is under a serious threat here as the result of Micah Beckwith being on your ticket. And this is not only going to change the potentiality of your election, it could hurt people down ballot too. People like Attorney General Todd Rokita, who is also, of course, a Jim Bopp client as well. So the ramifications of this are far-reaching. We've seen the entire past week sort of shaped by this memo with Jennifer McCormick, talking about it earlier this week in a press conference and really using it to frame the general election in a way that Republicans really didn't want to happen.
How's the Braun campaign responding to this memo, besides trying to suggest that they didn't write it, they didn't have anything to do with it? What are they saying about all this?
It's fascinating. They are not happy that the memo came out. It does not help them. It typically right after a convention, you'd want to have a message of unity. You'd want to have your ticket traveling the state. And that has not happened this week. They have been spending the first 72 hours after the convention dealing with the blowback of this memo. And it only sort of exacerbates Mike Braun's political capital problem. He won the primary with just 39% of the vote. He is having some trouble, as I've reported this week, finding a state party chair that the state central committee can get behind. And so this has really added to their complexity of unifying the Republican Party ahead of November.
So you mentioned Jennifer McCormick. Her name came up in this memo, mentioned because some had speculated perhaps this would be an even more winnable race for Democrats if someone like Joe Donnelly were to get in the race instead, if she were to step away. What's her campaign's response been to all of this speculation that she might defer to another Democratic candidate instead?
Yeah, this memo in some ways has been bad for both the McCormick and the Braun campaigns. I mean, it shows how little Republicans regard Jennifer McCormick as a force in this race. Mentioning Joe Donnelly, I asked the McCormick campaign if she would be willing to step aside of someone like a John Gregg or a Joe Donnelly, people with the true proven track record of raising millions and millions of dollars that it's going to take to get this message out. And they said not only is she not willing to step aside, but she won't step aside, and she hasn't been asked to. And so even as some higher Democratic leaders talk about the possibility that she might step away, it doesn't appear to be in the offing at all.
Well, you spoke to John Gregg about the possibility this week, and he didn't seem to shoot down the idea.
Right. Former two-time Democratic nominee John Gregg came very close to beating Mike Pence in 2012 and 2016. And he's someone who can raise money. He raised $15 million. And he has been critical of Jennifer McCormick's ability to raise money. He told me that he had more money in his account than she did as of last December. And he, when I asked him about this, he plainly said, "I've always wanted to be governor, full stop."
But again, as you mentioned, for anything like this to happen, McCormick herself would have to decide to step away from the campaign since she's already won the Democratic primary.
That's right. There's no mechanism. There's no party rule that would allow Democrats to remove her like they did with Barron Hill. Barron Hill technically stepped aside. He was, strong-armed by then Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer in 2016, said you're not going to get any national money if you run instead of Evan Bayh. And so he stepped away. Jennifer McCormick is saying that she will not step away. And we're really only weeks from the Democrats' convention. And so that does not appear to be changing her calculus here anytime soon. I thought it was interesting that we saw Chairman Mike Schmuhl this week stand by Jennifer McCormick physically in a press conference. He is close to Donnelly, has ties to Donnelly, was his first campaign manager. And so for him to do that, I think sent a message that, look, I am beside her. This is our candidate. We're moving towards the convention in November.
Now, in a statement, the Braun campaign said Jim Bopp's memo represented his personal views and there was no way that he implied otherwise. They said Mike Braun's excited to lead the Republican Party with Micah Beckwith to historic victories in November. We'll also be holding a debate with the candidates for governor later this year. It's scheduled for Wednesday, October 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern on our stations here in Indianapolis and elsewhere across the state. Now, on Thursday, the candidates for governor gathered for a forum in Bloomington on Indiana's economy with Braun, McCormick, and Libertarian candidate Donald Rainwater.
We need to, first of all, encourage more people to move here so that The housing industry builds more houses.
Your levy or your tax bill should never be going up faster than the growth of the economy, and I'll find a way to get that done.
I know it's hard because, again, the monies are tight, but we can't ignore parts of who's been ignored for years in Indiana and think as a state we're going to be successful.
And again, our debate in the race for governor will come this October. Meantime, we're now just days away from the first presidential debate between the presumptive nominees, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. No RFK Jr. in this debate. The host network CNN now announcing the rules that the Trump and Biden campaigns have agreed to. CNN's Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will moderate the debate this coming Thursday night in Atlanta, a 90-minute debate with 2 commercial breaks. During that time, the candidates can't talk with their campaign staff. The network also noting that the candidates' podiums and positions will be determined by a coin flip. Their mics will actually be muted outside of their own speaking time, and they'll only get a pen, a notepad, and a bottle of water. Again, that debate coming up Thursday night, the 27th. We'll have a recap and reaction right here next week. Meantime, a new immigration policy from the Biden administration will allow some undocumented immigrants to stay in the country. The plan offering protection to immigrants who are married to U.S. citizens and who've lived in the country at least 10 years. Let's get the latest now from our Washington bureau. Here's Hannah Brandt.
This is expected to impact about 500,000 immigrants currently living in the U.S. and will give them a pathway to live and work here permanently. Immigration advocates are cheering President Biden's new policy.
It's good for America, period.
He announced plans to allow undocumented immigrants married to U.S. citizens to apply for permanent residency and eventually citizenship without risk of deportation. To qualify, the immigrant has to have lived in the U.S. for 10 years and be married to a citizen as of Monday.
These couples have been raising families, sending their kids to church and school, paying taxes, contributing to our country for 10 years or more.
The move comes on the heels of the president's recent border crackdown restricting crossings into the U.S.
We can both secure the border and provide legal pathways to citizenship.
Democrats are praising the new executive actions, with Senator Alex Padilla calling them bold and exciting.
Not just bringing fairness and justice, but hope and opportunity.
But Republicans like Senator Joni Ernst are slamming the new policy.
President Biden has rolled out the red carpet for illegal migrants.
And the president's chief political rival is criticizing the announcement too.
Crooked Joe is sending a message to the world that he rewards illegal entry.
Former President Donald Trump contrasted the new policy with his own immigration plans.
We're going to get them out as fast as we can. We're going to have the largest deportation.
But President Biden accused Trump of using the hotly contested issue for political gain.
Folks, I'm not interested in playing politics with the border or immigration. I'm interested in fixing it.
Around 50,000 undocumented children could also qualify for this new process. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
All right, coming up next on this week's edition of In Focus, we'll talk with our panel about the race for governor, the newly named running mates, and all the scenarios that could make this even more interesting. Plus, our panelists tell us what they're expecting from next week's presidential debate when In Focus continues after the break.